All right, so we have our first live Q&A. We have Janice Means, John Hunkala, and Ingrid Marinangel with us. The first question is going to be for Ingrid. We had someone ask that, were you in your program or in your website while you were working with Yoast?
Yeah, so that was a website I was working on for a client. It was a WordPress background, so if you're familiar at all with WordPress, all dashboards kind of look similar, and that's kind of the setup for any WordPress site.
Excellent. I have a question for Janice. How popular is Alignable? I know that through LinkedIn, as you said, I'm getting a lot of invitations, say, please meet me here. Is it something that you feel is necessary?
Depends on your business type. So if you're a true B2B in your local area, then Alignable is going to be a great tool for you to connect with local businesses. If you're a B2C, I don't know that you need to be there. And Alignable has now added 2 levels of premium, and those different levels of premium give you a different distance and how far you can reach. So you really have to look at, where's my ideal client, where they're going to be, if it matters to me to be on it. In general, I'm going to say if you're a B2C, it's just extra noise. You need to really pay attention to Yelp and Google and whatever's appropriate for your industry. If you're B2B, let's have a conversation if you can't decide for yourself, local industry and who's your client.
Excellent. John, for you, for a nonprofit or a small business like the Chamber, do you have suggestions for website maintenance or advice to keep us up with current trends?
Yeah. So generally speaking, it's kind of going to depend on if you have anybody who's like tech savvy on your team, or if you're using a CMS like WordPress, like Ingrid was discussing, or Squarespace, or something that's a little bit more updatable for someone who's less tech savvy. So if you do have both of those things in place, then you obviously have a lot better ability to go ahead and make some of the updates that you want to make to your site. And a lot of those things are going to be like updating images, adding messaging, things like that. So those things are pretty important, especially if you are using your website as a way to market or provide information to your customers. Saving that, there are companies like our company, and there are a number of companies out there that offer maintenance services. We do very small, like 3 hour per month kind of packages. And there are also a number of like solo developers out there that will do that kind of work for you. So it's kind of a balance. If you're set up correctly and you're on a CMS or something that allows you to actually make the updates yourself, you'll probably be able to do a lot of what you need to do. If not, you will probably need to talk to a developer at some point, which is good for us. That's why we have jobs. But there's kind of a fine line balance there between kind of who's on your staff and what platform you're on.
Excellent. We've got a question from Dave for the group. Do you believe it's a smart strategy to actively seek reviews? And if so, what is the professional way of going about that?
I'll jump in there first, because actually that's the second half of what happens after I talk about your online presence, is to look at, are your reviews current, and do you have several? Yes, there are professional tools to do it. I'm in the process of walking through several prototypes to make sure those tools work. But if you looked at that first Google listing that I showed, where you had multiple locations with different ones, if you see a location that has 10 stars and they're all 5, or 10 ratings and all 5-star, you're probably going to pick them over the next one that only has 1 Google star and 1 Google rating. So those live reviews make sense. If they're both the exact same, then somebody's going to click them and go, okay, this one has recent reviews versus this is old reviews. So the normal consumer will look at how recent they are and how good they are. So yes, it does matter. And yes, you do want to reach out and professionally ask for them. You can add things to the bottom of your emails that send out. I'm actually working on a tool that's thumbs up, thumbs down. If it's thumbs up, it lets you go to the site. If it's thumbs down, it creates an email. So you can intercept that bad review before it goes public.
Excellent. We had someone mention about the importance of a Google profile, and we've seen through small businesses in our neighborhood what can go wrong if you don't claim your profile, how it can get hacked or usurped by a third party. Do you have any advice or tips of what to do if that happens, if someone who is not your business claims your business?
So there are processes to reach out to Google depending on how well that person claimed it. Usually Google does send you an address to make you confirm you're really who you are, or call you on a phone number, and then they match that up to your website or your Facebook page or something else. So if it's happened, you can message Google. Now, of course, Google's this big monolithic, whatever, but you can get it back. It just takes work.
Excellent. Question for Ingrid. What happens if you don't plug in keywords for your SEO? Like, do you just end up floating around in the ether?
Well, I don't think it's really necessarily keywords, right? I tell people to make a keyword list because it's a place to start. I don't think keywords are like as great as they used to be, right? More so, you would get like things like title tags like H1s through like H3s, right, are really important. And then like coding, an H1 is like a title on a page, and this is like things that Google or a browser could search for. So what happens if you don't have these things? Well, you don't get rated as well. Your searchability isn't as good. And I think especially with like small businesses, you want to make sure you have these things going. There's another tool called SEM Rush, and they actually have something that kind of rate your site. Hey, look, you're lacking title tags, you're lacking meta descriptions, you're lacking alt tag on your images. It'll actually tell you that. So I think, there's tools out there that are free. They do charge a premium, especially once you really utilize it, like on a larger scale, right? But they do offer free tools that help.
Excellent. And a question for John. We use WordPress for our website, as you know, as you are the person who helped us put it together and manage it. Are there any platforms that you find are more difficult than others or more problematic from the client point of view?
There's so many CMSs out there, a lot of smaller ones. WordPress, we build probably 95% of our sites on WordPress. They sort of kind of won the CMS wars that happened a while ago. So you'll see Joomla sites and Drupal sites out there. Those are some of the like the earlier CMSs, I guess, along with WordPress, but they sort of beat out, I guess. Nowadays, you have Squarespace and Wix. Those sites or those platforms, I've actually started to mess around a little bit with Squarespace sites. And they are really, I think, user-friendly. And if you don't have a lot of technical ability, you can really put together a site with, that looks pretty decent with some of those platforms. You do lose some flexibility as far as some of the things that you can do if you want to start customizing and really like setting up your site. But for small businesses, I still would suggest WordPress, but I think you can get away with some of those sites, particularly if you have like a smaller budget and you're just trying to get off the ground. You may find as your business grows, in the next, 3 or 4 or 5 years, when you're ready to start again, you may want to start on a new platform. But there are some out there for sure. I do like WordPress a lot though.
And a follow-up, John, from your presentation. Do those tips translate to other similar platforms?
They do. Like I was mentioning with the CMSs, there's a lot of email marketing platforms out there, MailChimp being one of the bigger ones. It's more universal. There's a lot that are industry specific as well. So there's going to be probably some difference in the way certain things are implemented and the way you're setting things up. I don't know if the part got cut out or not. but there, at one point I mentioned we're talking about audiences in Mailchimp. Those are essentially user lists, but Mailchimp calls them audiences. So those things might be called something different. But the general point there that you are setting up an email list and marketing directly to people who are actively interested in your business, and how powerful a tool that is, that's pretty universal across the board.
Excellent. All right, I'm going to take this time to ask for a last round of questions from the viewers. Adam is asking, what is the best platform plugin, in your opinion, for shopping cart or order integration with a website?
If I was going to answer that, I would say it really depends on what you're trying to do. If we use Shopify, for example, for a lot, if we're saying total shop. But there's a lot of, you're seeing these days, for example, businesses that are starting to do online stuff are using a bunch of new platforms. I'm forgetting the names of them that I hadn't even heard of until this all happened. So that's a question I'd have a hard time answering without knowing your exact business and what you're trying to sell.
Sure. And as a reminder, John's full presentation with a step 2 and 3 is available in the expo area at any time, and it'll be posted on our website after the virtual forum is done. I want to thank you all for joining us. I want to thank you for your presentations. We've got about 10 minutes before our next program, so please, everyone, check out the expo area. You can learn about some of our elite members, our local non-for-profit partners, and you can see a few more presentations like John's. Thank you all very much, and we will see you soon.